In the Ontario legislature yesterday, Ontario Premier Doug Ford shuffled his cabinet just hours after the legislature rose for an extended summer break. They're coming back October 21st. The biggest move sees the ministers of energy and education swapping portfolios. Todd Smith now becomes the education minister, while Stephen Lecce will move to energy. Steve Clark, who resigned last fall as municipal affairs and housing minister amid the Greenbelt controversy, has been appointed government house leader. Now, it's not a cabinet position, but it is a key role within the government. Other moves to include Stan Cho moving from long-term care to now become the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Gaming. Neil Lumsden drops his tourism duties and will now simply be Minister of Sport. And Natalia Kusendova-Bashta moves from the backbenches into long-term care. Nick, over to you.
Yeah, so let's talk political strategy this morning. Jamie Ellerton's a principal at Kanaptis, and he has plenty of experience in conservative politics, both the federal and provincial levels. Jamie, always good to talk to you about this. How do you kind of read and interpret this change, especially the Todd Smith, Stephen Lecce portfolio swap?
So clearly, Premier Ford is looking to cast steady as she goes. We're going to continue to get it done. That was what they ran on the last election, and that's what they're trying to do going forward. The actual bigger news coming out of this was actually a lot of other members coming from the backbench to the front bench. There's a bit of generational renewal in Ontario PC ranks in the Ford cabinet, and moving education and swapping him with Minister Smith over from energy is just putting a bit of fresh eyes on really big portfolios after both ministers have been in their positions for quite some. So I view that as more of a lateral move.
Yeah, I don't see it as either. I couldn't really see a demotion in the ranks there. There were a couple of promotions, but not really any demotions particularly. Stephen Lecce, though, handling education for 6 years, he's been through some tough battles, whether it's union, labor, et cetera, or just, overall educational issues. Is there an indication that maybe they're anticipating some tough battles when it comes to the energy portfolio going forward?
I think when you look at what's going on in Ontario, electrification, you see a ton of investment going into EVs and all the supporting infrastructure, and the talk that everything's going to be more and more electrified going forward, relying on less on other forms of energy. We know that there's going to be massive refurbishment in the nuclear sector here in Ontario, and going to need to continue to expand Ontario's power grid. So for Minister Lecce, it's going to be less of a public-facing role. Education is not quite as in the media, in people's eyes on a day-to-day basis, but it's a massive economic portfolio for the province, and so it's a new role for him and a way for him to continue to grow and continue to serve Doug Ford's cabinet.
Were you surprised at this sudden shuffle? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about maybe a potential snap election next spring, but I don't think anybody had really heard about a potential shuffle of Doug Ford's cabinet.
No, I really wasn't surprised, Nick. In addition to all those election rumors, whether it's going to be next spring, next fall, there were talks that a shuffle was in the works. So I think when you actually looked at the rumors that were swirling and what this ended up being, as again, we talk about Minister Smith and Minister Lecce switching roles, others coming to the front bench, this shuffle wasn't as wide-ranging as some were expecting.
Okay, Kusendova moving from the backbenches right into long-term care. She, of course, went back in the pandemic as a nurse and was sort of helping out during the pandemic. What do you make of that move? Because it's pretty rare for a backbencher to jump into such a large portfolio.
Yeah, she's now been in caucus as well since 2018, so she's been in the legislature for quite some time, has experience with healthcare. Clearly, the Premier has confidence in her and her ability to deliver. The fact that she's been a nurse, worked in the system, means she's got a leg up in terms of learning because she understands how a lot of this already works. So it's definitely going to be a test for her. Sometimes people come to the front benches, doesn't work out and they get shuffled out elsewhere. Other times it's a launching point more in their career. So.
What about Steve Clark? Has he kind of been forgiven by the Premier? How do you interpret Steve? I know he's not a cabinet minister, but governor house leader, that's a crucial role.
Yeah, so for Steve Clark, this was, hey, you had to take the hit for the Greenbelt scandal based off everything that transpired last fall. This is now, hey, you're a valued member of the team. Come and serve this role in terms of navigating everything in the House. If there's a snap election in the fall, who knows if he'll even sit a day as House leader in the legislature. Yeah,
that's true. Good point about that. And also just want to point out the size of this cabinet. 36 MPPs are now part of the cabinet. It's only an 80, not only, they have a strong majority, but it's almost half of the MPPs are in fact in cabinet. Conservatives don't generally have big cabinets. What do you interpret that this is now the biggest cabinet in the provincial history?
So this is Doug Ford trying to consolidate his power amongst the party. This is Doug Ford trying to grow his inner circle, to have more people feel like they're a part of the team. Anytime you're feeling there's some animosity, rather than having idle hands, maybe planning alternative measures, giving them something to do, focused on at the cabinet table and kind of seeing their own career advance in addition to serving the province is a way to help deal with some of those internal challenges.
I suppose so. Okay, it's going to be interesting to watch. Of course, they're on break now till October 21st, but that doesn't mean we're not going to hear anything at a Queen's Park. But thanks for setting this up this morning, Jamie. Always good to see you.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks so much. Okay.